Hi everyone, this is Kayla Jentz, Marketing Manager at Filament. Today I'm going to share with you 8 tips from Content Marketing Conference. As the name implies, the conference was all about content. There were about 400 attendees represented from both small and large brands. Some of the bigger brands including Sephora, Esurance, and GoDaddy, among others. So this is going to be a really fast-paced, information-packed presentation, so just hang on to your seatbelts. And without further ado, tip number 1, write without bullshit. So, everything we know about writing was designed for print reading, but we're in an online environment now where people spend just 36 seconds on an online news article. So, you don't want to bullshit your reader, you want to treat their time as more valuable than your own. So, how do we cut the crap? Write short. Start with your word limit, edit and rewrite before it leaves your inbox, and then delete and reorganize relentlessly. And this holds true not only for the articles you're writing or the video scripts that you're writing or the press releases, it holds true for things like emails as well. Second, front load your writing. Make the opener the summary, rewrite your title and subtitle at every draft, and think about your own experience skimming articles. What draws you in? This part is really, really important no matter what you're writing, since that opener will really draw in your reader. Avoid passive writing, jargon, and intensifiers. They'll really hurt your credibility. Readers can see right through that. It's bullshit. Cut until it hurts. Don't waste time with extra words. Just simply eliminate them from the get-go. And then last but not least, always write with your audience in mind. In fact, one of the presenters suggested printing out a picture of your average reader and taping that right next to your monitor so that whenever you work on a piece, you have your audience in mind. Remember that you spend hours and hours and hours writing, but that time is only valuable if your reader actually reads the story. Otherwise, you're at the podium with a microphone and nobody is in the audience. Tip number 2, SEO first, not last. So 64% of website visits start with search, and not surprisingly, 30% of the clicks go to the result in the top position. So how do you get in the top position? Make SEO planning a priority. How do you get to the winner's circle? Do your keyword planning and research. What are people searching for? How are they searching for your topic? Is it why should I feed mineral or how should I feed mineral? Those are 2 different topics that you can write about. Insert keywords after a piece is written is not the best strategy. Otherwise, like on the last slide, you'll be at the podium with a microphone and nobody will be in the audience. Anyone can SEO. There are online keyword planning and research tools for everyone, and best of all, some of them are completely free. Once you've got your keyword planning complete, then it's time to create the best page on the internet for your topic. Make it well thought and comprehensive. And the bottom line is don't leave SEO as an afterthought. Tip number 3, be bigger, braver, and bolder. When you sell a product with a lot of competition, your story is really what sets you apart. If you're telling the same old story, you'll become just like the rest of the competitive field. The presenter at the conference offered a really easy test, which is to cover up your logo. Are you recognizable or do you blend in with the crowd? If it's the latter, it's time to be bigger, braver, and bolder with your content. So, how do you do this? Provide some bigger context. A bigger story is really going to help put your business into the context of what people care about. For example, people want to be smarter, so use their desire for education to bring them into your brand squad and give them a really deep training on a topic. Tip number 2 is to tell bolder stories. Change the narrative, tell a different story that really sets you apart. Third, have a braver perspective. Tone of voice is your gutsiest, bravest asset. I really love the presenter quote on tone and voice where they said, "It's who we are, it's how we do the work. If the label falls off, you know it's ours." Ultimately, everything the light touches is content and opportunity to be bigger, braver, and bolder. Tip 4, immerse your audience with virtual reality. So all signs point towards virtual reality being the next big content platform. As we all know, the internet is not flat anymore, it's immersive, and it's because of things like virtual reality. In fact, the presenting company shared that they are taking veterans that are physically unable to travel to memorials and monuments to those locations via VR. And not only that, but VR is an experience that shifts brainwave patterns, so it's really unlike any other content platform that we've ever seen. What does that mean for us as content producers? It's going to be a challenge. It's really not easy to create VR content. It's messy and difficult to produce. Presenters shared that there could be up to 16 cameras, and all of those cameras, the video has to be stitched together. So there are a lot of different factors that go into creating a flawless experience. There are many considerations. Who's the camera person? What do we want the viewer to see and experience? How do we get the viewer to look where we want them? A VR user has the ability to control what they're seeing, so they don't really need to be looking the same direction as the camera person necessarily was. Two people could have two totally different experiences. So the presenter gave an example, like if there's a clap that happens while the video is recording, the user is probably going to turn to see what that was and may miss the intended view of the camera person. So for VR, direction is very, very important, which is the job of the camera person, who happens to also be the storyteller. Another unique thing about VR is it can also be used in conjunction with smell-o-vision, where a small cartridge is placed in the VR headset. So that just adds a totally unique layer to this platform. The bottom line is that VR is really just a totally new way of telling a story and a platform where direction is extremely important. All right, tip number 5 is my personal favorite, and that is to find your content unicorns. So quality content is content that achieves marketing objectives. But that content can't be defined by you, it's really defined by your audience. Are they engaging with your content or not? Unicorns are your best content, your top performers, and donkeys are your underperformers. So we need to produce more unicorns. How do you produce unicorns? Produce and audition a lot of content. And then from there, you need to measure user engagement rates. Is your piece in the top 10%? If it is, those are your unicorns. If it's not, they're what we call donkeys, and we want to kill the donkeys. Don't keep unpopular content around. It's not going to drive traffic to you. Once you do find your unicorns, sound the unicorn alert. Amplify them with paid media. Make your social spend based on unicorns and not necessarily a set cost per post. Turn unicorns into infographics and videos, and don't be afraid to repeat unicorns. So the presenter gave the example that he had given a really great webinar, performed in the top 10%. So he repeated the exact same webinar the next day. And the day after that, he created a slightly altered version, very similar to the original, and it performed well, and it continued performing well the amount of times that it was repeated. The bottom line here is that Google is pushing for fewer, bigger winners in content, so you really need to find those content unicorns and amplify them. Tip number 6, provide proof. As discussed earlier, users are really good at detecting bullcrap. Everyone wants proof and evidence. It's how we know things are true, that they're accurate, and that they work. So, how do we provide proof? We provide numbers and statistics and proof. A good vehicle for providing proof is the testimonial. I really like this presenter quote. They said, "The testimonial is the sniper rifle of content marketing." So you want to make sure you're using the sniper rifle and that you get more sniper rifles out there. You simply can't have enough evidence. Produce more testimonials. And number 4, put your testimonials, your snipers, in the right spot. While testimonials can be great, don't get to the point where you've got a testimonials page on your website. That's not how we as users want to experience a website. You go to a website looking for an article on something or maybe looking for a specific product. So put your testimonials in those spots instead of a testimonials page, which nobody's going to click on. Tip number 7, give chatbots a human touch. Bots are quickly becoming a big deal. Native app use is declining. In fact, the presenter shared that 25% of native apps are abandoned after the first use. Chatbots, on the other hand, provide a huge opportunity for marketers. Brands like Taco Bell, Slack, Sephora, and Uber are already using them. They shared an example that a Nordstrom bot helped users find the perfect holiday gift and ultimately provided a user with a trackable product purchase link. So there's a great KPI there as well. That's all great, but what about chatbot content? There's a common misconception that bots will quickly replace human interaction, which is simply not true. Bots definitely need a human touch until they become smarter and allow you to back out. So that human touch is going to be vital as chatbots become more and more popular. How do you make sure your bot is successful? Make sure it's really solving a customer problem. And if not, make sure it's shareable and engaging. Make it intuitive. If a user has a poor experience, they're not going to be coming back and experiencing your bot. And then make sure it has a personality, as all content should. There's a huge opportunity with chatbots, but as always, content needs to be just right for this platform. And lastly, tip number 8, treat your audience like royalty. There's really no further explanation needed on this slide, but how do we roll out the royal treatment? Make sure you're solving a customer problem. Give them a helping hand. Think how you'll positively influence their day. Delight them. People are drawn to pleasure and delight. They draw away from pain points. So a delight example, working with a company that responds quickly and effectively versus a pain example, working with a company that is slow and only answers half of your questions. You're probably delighted when customer service overperforms because you're so used to underperformance. That's really delight versus pain. Make sure that your users are experiencing delight versus pain. And then lastly, be real, authentic, and vulnerable. So we've covered quite a bit in a short amount of time, but I wanted to reemphasize 3 key themes throughout the Content Marketing Conference. Number 1 being content is not king, your audience is, and don't forget it. Number 2, don't create content for the sake of creating content. Have a plan, a strategy, measure performance, and create and amplify those unicorns. Just make sure you're really delivering powerful, meaningful content. And number 3, last but not least, don't forget about the future. There are some great new tools here today and on the horizon, things like virtual reality and chatbot. And finally, congratulations. If you stuck with me this long, you're a true content champion. I hope you've learned something that you can take back to use in your business.